HIP is a boutique education advisory that helps aspiring students get accepted into top-tier education institutions globally for high school, undergraduate, master's, MBA and executive education.
Very warm welcome, and it's monsoon here in Bombay, so thank you for braving the monsoons and making it here. Special thank you to the admissions directors for taking the time out, and especially Dirk and Morgan, thank you for coming through the Bombay monsoons. Yeah. So my name is Vibha Kaksi, I'm the CEO and founder of reachid.com, and today I have two very special guests. So we have Morgan from Duke University, from the Fuqua School of Business, and we have Dirk from Johns Hopkins Carey School of Business with us. So from Baltimore and from Raleigh-Durham. First I'm going to ask them to just sort of give us a brief introduction of themselves and their backgrounds and what made them choose admissions as a career choice.
Okay. So my name is Dirk Barnett. I'm from Johns Hopkins Carey Business School. I've only known higher education from an admissions perspective, but it started at the undergraduate level, actually from the institution at which I graduated. I worked there for a number of years, about 9.5, left there, worked at another institution, again at the undergraduate level, and then left there to come to Johns Hopkins University as a result of an opportunity that I was presented to work at the graduate level. So been in higher education for quite some time, graduate school for a little over 3 years now.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm Morgan Griffin with Duke's Fuqua School of Business. I've been in higher education for over a year at the graduate level. I currently serve as the Assistant Director of Admissions and more specifically work as the market lead working closely with India applicants. First time to India though, so very excited. Before this I was actually working in more of a communications role.
Okay, terrific. So for both of you, it's the first time to India, and we welcome you to our country and we hope you have a pleasant experience here. So let's start with a little bit about the schools you both represent. Could you tell us what's unique about the school and a little bit about the location of the school and how that plays to the advantage of the MBA students who come into your schools?
So the Johns Hopkins Carey Business School actually has 2 campus locations, one in Baltimore and another one in Washington, D.C. in DuPont Circle. However, our MBA students will take classes exclusively in Baltimore, Maryland. We are a relatively young business school. We were founded in 2007, but we've been offering, and by we I mean Johns Hopkins University, that is, has been offering business education for quite some time prior to that. We have, in addition to our MBA, 6 full-time master's programs. 4 of those carry STEM designation. So depending on which route interested individuals may be looking to take, either that 2-year full-time MBA consisting of 54 credits, or a 1-year specialized program with only 36 credits. We have multiple degrees within our portfolio.
And maybe a little about Baltimore and...
Oh yeah, so Baltimore is sort of nestled in right between New York City and Washington, D.C. Yeah, we're about 45 minutes north of Washington, D.C., not too far from Philadelphia, and about an hour, 45 minutes, close to 2 hours south of New York City. So our students have really good access to the nation's capital, as well as some of the larger metropolitan areas along the eastern seaboard. We're very close to an airport, as well as rail, so you can easily take a train to Boston or fly. Very close, very short train ride to Philadelphia as well. And then if you'd like, about a 40-minute commuter train from Baltimore to Washington, D.C. And about 6 hours from Raleigh. I've made that drive.
Thank you for the segue. So we are located in Raleigh-Durham. We're close to what's known as the Research Triangle Park, which has a lot of tech companies and startups as well, so great for people who are interested in entrepreneurship as well as technology. Durham I tell people it's a city, but has a small town feel as well, but you still get the cultural aspects of living in a city. Like Baltimore has an airport close by, not near as much traffic as Bombay, so it's a little bit easier to get around in the area. But it is located on Duke University's campus as well. It's an easy walk to what we call main campus. And our building, for those basketball lovers, is right across from Cameron Indoor. So if you like basketball, you might see Coach K and some basketball players walking around there as well. One thing that I think makes Fuqua different is we do offer 7 different degree programs. We have 3 MBA programs with different formats. We also have several one-year degree programs, and we recently launched an online health analytics program as well. So those are just starting up. One thing that I think makes Fuqua different is our Team Fuqua culture. We really believe in teamwork. We're not a competitive against one another school. We like to work together competitively. And I think that's what makes us really unique and interesting. It's our culture.
Okay, terrific. So moving from the location and the culture of the school, if we could just move into the academic life at school. So if you could talk about the structure of your program, if it differs between the first year and the second year, perhaps the core and the electives, and what are some of the academic options available to people in the 2-year full-time MBA program?
So at Johns Hopkins, we've been offering a full-time MBA for a number of years, but we're very excited over the course of the last 2 years. As an institution, we've been conducting extensive research within the marketplace, among students, alumni, and so forth, and we're actually going to be launching a new MBA curriculum for fall of 2020. We will have a track available to students in our full-time program in health, technology, and innovation. So students that choose to take that route are going to have very select experiential learning opportunities exclusive to that particular track. Those students that choose to take the more general management track will have an opportunity to complete a concentration in either finance, marketing, or entrepreneurship. So regardless if you take the general management or the health, technology, and innovation track, students at the Carey Business School are really able to leverage Johns Hopkins University's commitment to research, as we were the first research-based institution found in the United States, as well as our sort of health ecosystem within the university. So students will have a really good opportunity to leverage that regardless of whichever track they may choose. We also recently just named a new dean, so a lot of new and exciting things, particular to the school as well as the MBA.
So we are currently looking at our curriculum and seeing if any changes need to be made to keep up with what is happening in the global business world. As it stands though right now, students coming in, they start at the end of July, they have orientation, and then we go through a rigor of what's called Global Institute, which is a team building, as well as kind of just learning global business economies as well. Students then take all of their general management courses in fall of the first year. You then though can start taking a lot of your electives in the spring. So it allows you to start taking those electives and really customizing your MBA experience early on. We also offer 13 different concentrations, 2 certificates, and we recently added a second major known as MSTEM, which is allowing people to get additional work authorization, international students I should say, additional work authorization if they decide to complete the major and go into a STEM-related career. So that's something we're really excited about. We've seen interest in that grow from 20% in the first year that it started without the designation to now a third of the class expressed interest in that and completed the certificate.
Do you need to apply to it, or just can you?
So you can just, when you come in, everyone gets the general management MBA degree, but if you're interested in MSTEM, you talk to the registrar, you let them know that this is something you're interested in. As long as you complete those classes during your electives, it doesn't cost any extra to get the MSTEM second major. It's simply just during your electives is where you take those 8 classes to fulfill the requirement, and then upon graduation you just have to go, the biggest thing is a STEM related field. You can't necessarily just go into energy consulting or something like that. It needs to be STEM related.
Okay, so the job you get after graduation is
it has to be STEM related as well. So you not only complete the major, but then
so this technology consulting qualifies STEM.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, great. Okay, and then that authorizes them to work for 3 years.
Instead of 1 year, it'd be 3 years. So it essentially allows you to file and apply for the H-1B visa multiple times.
Okay, terrific. Could you guys give us a flavor of some of the sort of star professors on campus, some of the most popular classes? What is the big academic attraction on your campuses?
Yeah, Kathy Clark.
I'll let you go first.
Oh, okay. I would say as it pertains to the MBA with our new curriculum, it's probably a little too early to tell right now at the moment what classes students will enjoy the most. However, I would say it's because of, regardless of the track that students will take, I mean, it's deeply rooted in the experiential learning opportunities. So some of those, depending on the student's interest as well as the track, I think is going to be something that is going to be highly sought after from the students, just the opportunity to directly apply the knowledge that they're acquiring within the classroom to some real world experiences. Additionally, both Baltimore and Washington, D.C. do have some really, high concentration of startups and so forth. Actually, Maryland has one of the highest STEM designated workers, I guess, if you will, in the United States. So with that, we do have some consulting opportunities for students during their experience, whether they're the one-year master's or the MBA, where they can actually, through involvement in a club and organization, have direct impact with local companies, both within Washington, D.C. and the greater Baltimore areas. So I think those are some of the more, interesting elements that students enjoy.
And like Johns Hopkins, we have a lot of experiential learning opportunities as well. We have Fuqua on board, which allows our students to serve on a board of a local nonprofit and serve as an actual working member on that board. We also have the Fuqua Client Consulting Practicum, which allows companies will come in with an actual problem or the solution that they want students to work on, and the students actually get that hands-on rather experience of working on a consulting project with a big name company. Those companies do change, and students apply and then are selected for different companies to work on. So I think those, we also have a global experience as well, where students can go abroad and learn about different companies in those different companies in those countries. Let's learn how to talk first. Jet lag still kicking in strong. But if you're interested in looking at consumer goods, you can go to China and look at Coca-Cola or something like that. So lots of different opportunities. I'd say one of our professors that really do sell out classes is Cam Harvey, when he talks about Bitcoin technology, cryptocurrency. So that's a really popular class, and one that I think if you're interested in, make sure you're ready to select that class when class is open. That's very popular. Very popular. He writes a lot of articles about it. And really, just like Johns Hopkins, if you're interested, some people are really like different professors just because they like the topic they talk about too. So that's the nice thing about Fuqua is, you can kind of find your passion. And some people have said, I have no interest in going into finance, but I enjoy this professor that talks about social impact. So I think that's really unique about Fuqua and exciting.
Terrific. Okay, so you both talked about experiential learning at your respective campuses. How does that experiential learning translate in the life post-academic? So social life, clubs, stuff that you do outside of your classroom. If you could talk about like the social experience and how potentially your city is integrated into that social experience and what that means for the students.
So, there's a variety of ways, like through that experiential learning, that students can make connections with the communities, whether it's in Washington or Baltimore. And I think sometimes organically speaking, students may find themselves heavily involved within those localities, in a variety of different ways. Could be, as far as some of the clubs centered around, real estate and infrastructure development, to something related to the city of Baltimore specifically. So I think for those that are highly interested in making or having a significant impact in social development, or I think Baltimore presents some really unique challenges. So that way, I think there's a lot of work to be done within the city. So for that individual that is highly interested in that, I think there are an immense amount of available opportunities in order for them to kind of get out and make a difference within the city. And so I think it's easy for students to kind of find something that they're passionate about. And then, there's certainly a wealth of other things to do, both within Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, as far as social aspects that are concerned. The location of the school, I think, really affords students a lot of opportunities. We're sort of in the Baltimore's, financial district, so to speak. So there's a lot of things that you can kind of get involved there, a number of startups, and then just sort of clubs, organizations, or, personal activities as well.
So we have 60 plus clubs on campus. So we not only have professional development clubs, we also have industry clubs as well as what we call leisure clubs. So if you enjoy the beer and wine club, you can also be part of the consulting club, or you can be part of Association of Women in Business as well. The nice thing is all of our clubs are free to join, so you could literally join all 60 if you would like. Your inbox might get a little full from all the blasts from the different clubs, but it allows, and a lot of times these clubs also host different study sessions for certain classes. So sometimes if you have people that don't really have a strong finance background or accounting background, the accounting club might let them know, hey, we're getting ready to have a study session, do you want to come join us? And that way they can help them on any of the homework or upcoming exams they might have. We also do a lot of community service projects. All students work with Day in Durham, which is working with Habitat for Humanity within the community. So we're very engaged with the Durham community. It's very close to Fuqua. You could walk to it if you really want to. Just I wouldn't do it during the summertime because it's very hot. But it's really great to see how our community reaches out and brings people in. I think then the experiential learning where you get to work with local companies or organizations really helps for you to find your passion and really helps with what you want to go in post-MBA career-wise.
Okay, terrific. So thank you for sharing both the academic and the social aspects of your school. Moving on to how do we actually get into these programs?
The real question.
Most important, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about admissions. Starting with just the eligibility requirements. So if you could talk about preference for GMAT or GRE or any other test that your schools are looking at, and what sort of average scores or median scores are you seeing at your schools, and how many times should students retake the test? How much is enough?
Okay. So I would say like the ideal candidate for the MBA program, Carey would be, somebody that has that 2+ years of work experience. Those individuals that have a 650 or higher on the GMAT are going to find themselves to be competitive within our applicant pool. We do accept a GRE, so I invite any applicants or prospective students to explore both routes and see whichever you may find kind of plays up to some of your skills and abilities. In terms, I guess, of just general other elements to the application, the essays are very critical, as well as the interview piece. And then I do always suggest that everybody kind of think critically about the round in which you're looking to apply. It's always best to put the application or the strongest application that you feel best represents you, but also kind of be cognizant of the idea that rounds round one and two usually will give you.
I'll come to the application round.
Okay.
So just on the test, like you said, 650 above is a good qualifier.
Yes.
And you accept both the
Yes.
GMAT and the GRE.
Yes.
Okay. And how many times is too much?
I would say really beyond probably 4 or 5, I think, or
Intense.
4. Yeah, I mean, and then and then cancels can also, like, if we're seeing a number of cancels, that also sort of raises some concerns.
Okay.
Got it.
So we take a holistic approach when looking at the GMAT and the GRE. We accept both. I would say if you are wanting to go into consulting though, I would suggest taking the GMAT exam just because some companies in the United States do ask for those test scores. There's no real cutoff. I would say our middle 80% is a 650 to a 750, but we see people above that and below that as well. We usually say that with taking the GMAT, if you have taken the GMAT 3 or 4 times and your test score really isn't moving, that's probably enough to take it. If you are making big jumps, I would keep taking it. Maybe you're got something good going there. We look at the highest cumulative score overall. So if you were to take the GMAT, let's say you score a 670, but next time you score a 700, but your quant is higher or the other components are higher, we don't pick from each one, we take the highest overall cumulative score. Jet lag, really. I told you before jet lag wasn't bothering me. Now
So you don't super score. You won't pick the highest verbal and match it with the highest math.
highest overall score. So you could get a higher score, but maybe your verbal is higher. So that is how we always say we don't Frankenstein the scores. So we just take whatever is presented to us, and that's how we evaluate.
Okay, terrific. So moving to work experience. So yeah, in India actually we end up doing our postgraduate degrees, the masters or the MBA programs immediately after college. And unlike the West, especially in America, it's like 4 to 5 years of experience. In Europe, it's even longer, like 7 to 9 years of experience. What is the average work experience at your respective schools, and why? Like, what is the philosophy and the logic and thought process behind having a 4, 5, 6 year work experience?
So our average right now amongst the class that's getting ready to start here next month in fall of 19 is right around 5 years. Again, an average of both above and below. And the biggest reason why we could say, why I say that usually that candidate having 2 years or more is going to be most competitive is just largely because of the way that the courses are structured, you know, in terms of the case-based sort of classes that students will experience. You know, those that may have less than that may find themselves to struggle. Not to say that we don't admit students that may have a little bit below the 2 years. I would say that's really when it's going to come into our sort of holistic, you know, application review and trying to evaluate applicants on the information that they present through the application packet. But that's sort of where we're at right now, right around 5 years.
Our average is 5 years as well, but we also look at what was the quality of your work. So we have seen people come in with 2 or 3 years experience, but maybe the quality of their work was better than necessarily the quantity of years working. So we really look for what was the impact and in your post or your job prior to coming to get your MBA. The reason why we say that time frame of 5 to 6 years is, you know, when we look at building a class, we want to bring people in that have come from different places with different experiences, different jobs, different career focuses. We really thrive on differences at Fuqua, and so we want to make sure that, you know, you've had that experience, that when you're talking with your team, you're able to bring those experiences and really make an impact in the classroom with what you're coming into the school with.
Okay. Are you open to having people with 2 years or less than 2 years of experience at either of your schools?
I would say it depends on, again, the quality of the work and the impact. If you have, you know, a lot of promotions or something like that, we will look at that and take that into account as well. So it's not a firm like 5 years, you know, if you have 4 years, we're not going to look at your application, you know, it's average of.
Okay.
So very similar in the sense, you know, we're going to be looking at, you know, the letters of recommendation, where are they coming from, what have your accomplishments been. If you're somebody who's been managing a large team at a very young age or has been making a significant impact, you know, within that organization, you know, that is something that we're going to look upon as favorable.
Okay, great. So which brings me to my next question about the application process and what, you know, how you sort of review every single application that comes to you. What are you looking for, like in terms of just the different metrics you're looking at? And how does the admissions committee, what does it comprise of? Who's on it, and what is your sort of process? Maybe you could give us a little sneak preview into the admissions office. That would be great.
So I would say that, you know, we're obviously going to be looking at some of the more standard elements, you know, your GPA, GMAT, GRE, but then also as well sort of some of the other elements, your essays, letters of recommendation, your interviews, the interactions that you've had with the admissions representative. I always say, suggested in folks that are prospective students that are applying, those interactions leading up to the application or even thereafter are very important, so do keep that in mind. Just sort of monitor yourself in that respect. As far as the admissions committee goes, it is comprised of both admissions office representatives, so you also have various faculty members and staff members, in particular those from our career development office, because we are trying to assess individuals in terms of like building that class, people that are, you know, that we would consider to be employable, and then those individuals that would represent the institution, you know, well.
So the way we kind of evaluate applications is every application gets read twice. So what happens is, once your application is submitted, we're going to check over that you have all the components and it's a complete application. Once that is verified that it is a complete application, someone will read your application. We'll then come together as a committee to make a decision on whether or not to invite for interview. Once that decision is made, if someone goes for the interview, the second time your application will be read with the notes from the interview. If you weren't invited for an interview though, we will still read your application a second time, just to kind of make sure we didn't miss anything, and see, do we need to invite them for an interview next time around.
So every file is read twice?
Every file is read twice. And what we're really looking for in the applications, we take a holistic approach, so each component of the application is weighted equally. The GMAT score doesn't outweigh your essays. Essays don't outweigh the letters of recommendation. And so we're really just looking to learn more about you. We know that you're more than just a test score or a GPA or where you went to school. And so I think always essays is a good place to really show your personality and really explain why you want to come to get your MBA at Fuqua. That's how we kind of evaluate.
Okay, so since you touched upon the E word, what are you guys looking for in these essays, especially the 25 random things, like they ask us all the time?
It's
So how random is random?
yes.
First, let's define the word random. Let's start there.
Yes, I would say random. We're not looking for just words. We are looking for what is not presented in your application. So a lot of times I feel like when I'm reading applications from India, a lot of people talk about their families or their values or something that happened in their childhood that was really impactful in their life and has shaped them. And so we really just want to get to know you. So this is a great place if you are humorous and have appropriate humor that you would like to share. That is a great place to show that you have a sense of humor. If you are someone that really values family, this is a great place to show that. And we are looking for you. Feel free to elaborate and share. We do ask that it's kept to 2 pages, but really don't feel like you have to say, I enjoy spending time with my family. You could really elaborate and say why you enjoy it. Is there something that is special about your family? Is there a tradition or something? So this is a great place to really show your personality, and if it makes you feel any better, everyone who has read your applications had to do the same essay. We as admissions officers had to do the 25 things as well.
Yeah.
And so actually when you come to campus, you'll hear a lot of us sharing our 25 random things.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's kind of, we understand that it is a daunting task, but it is probably the thing I look forward to the most.
Very interesting.
Applicants, and usually it's something that when they're admitted, usually I will have remembered one of your 25 things if it really stood out. So I always say if you have one thing that can really make you stand out, that's something that we'll remember as, oh, I remember when they wrote about this and that. So it's a great place to make yourself stand out as well.
Okay, awesome. So you're really trying to get to know the person behind
Yes.
the transcript. Okay.
And we have 2 essays. We have another one as well, but that's really the place where you can show your personality. You don't feel like you need to rehash what was on your resume or anything. You really want to know what you are as a person, what makes you, what you're passionate about, what makes you tick, everything.
So, Dirk, you want to talk about the essay process and what you...
So much of the elements at Duke, I will echo that as well. It is an opportunity for you to kind of provide some additional information that we don't otherwise see within your application. We have 1 mandatory essay, and then the other, you have the ability to select from several. And then I think, so as a result of that option where students can select, I think you're able to kind of pick from the 5 that we have available, the one that best suits you. So I think it does help bring a little bit of additional depth to your application, and I think does allow for you to kind of add some personal touch to it, yes. And then we do have like a small little sort of compulsory section where like if a student maybe struggled academically or something along those lines, you can, that would be the appropriate place to put that, rather than trying to somehow think of a way to creatively weave that into your essay. So try to focus on the essay questions and then maybe select if that does apply to you or something else that you feel that we don't otherwise see in your essay or other elements of the application. That's where the applicant would indicate which would be within that optional area. But yeah, it is really going to be an opportunity for us to kind of see, how does this student fit with the school, because that is very important in our attempts to build a class. Once we begin to sort of read and admit students throughout the admissions process, it allows us to sort of have a better understanding of that overall entering class, like that looks like.
Okay, terrific. So, presuming my file goes through the essay stage, I'm now invited for an interview. So you could tell us a bit about the interview process at your schools, whether they're blind or not, whether you conduct them here in person in India or they conducted through a Skype or a virtual call, and what are you looking for? How are you evaluating the interview?
Okay. So we are actually going to be incorporating Kira into our MBA as an opportunity new for this year. So it does give students the opportunity to complete that interview through that third party. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's like a timed session. If a student would like to come to campus and participate in their interview, that's fine. We do not require that. We do not have anybody that conducts interviews, necessarily here. Although from time to time we may have an admissions representative here, like later in the fall, in November and into like early December. Someone will be here attending events, and if it happens to coincide with a free spot in your schedule, we'll be happy to entertain and to accommodate in that way. So what we've been trying to do is to try to bring in different elements that allow us to be a little bit more flexible to the applicant, while still allowing us to evaluate the individual accordingly through those various interview
The
options.
Q&A interview will be essentially a link, and then whenever I'm ready, I start the interview, and then the system will ask me questions, right? So then automated.
Yes.
So we have kind of two-parter interview, not two-part, but two different ways you can do your interview. We do offer what's called open interview period. That is late September to early October, and that is your chance to initiate an interview and not have to wait to be invited for an interview. You don't have to have started your application or submitted. You can simply register. Those are conducted only in the United States, though.
Yeah.
So you would have to travel to Durham to do those, but it's a way that you can self-initiate your own interview, and you don't have to wait on the admissions committee to interview. If you decide that you want to apply and then wait from a decision from the admissions committee, we do have interviews done here in India. Typically those are done in Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, and sometimes in Hyderabad. Those are conducted oftentimes by our alumni here in the area, or if we have an admissions representative here, they will help us do some of those interviews as well. If you live a little far out of those cities, I actually help coordinate all the interviews in India. So if we look and we say they're really far away from any of our hub cities, we will offer a Skype interview. Or if you are traveling and you're not able to be in those areas, we will offer a Skype interview. We don't evaluate those any differently. The alumni that do conduct these interviews in India, they're really just looking to have a conversation with you, understand your passions, understand why you're interested in Fuqua and overall fit. The only thing they know about you as the applicant is your resume, which you are required to send to them 24 hours prior to the interview. That's all they know. They don't see your GMAT scores, your essays, letters of recommendation, nothing. They then will send an evaluation back to us, or sometimes they will text me and let me know what they thought. And we will add that and we will review that in your file. If you do decide you want to come to the United States during open interview period or just conduct your interview on campus, those are done by second-year students.
If I do an open interview and then I apply, am I going to be called for a second interview?
No. So you will have done your interview. Essentially, when interview decisions are released, you wouldn't get anything. That doesn't mean we lost your evaluation or we're not. It's just that you've already done your interview, so you just need to wait until the final decision
comes out.
Oh, okay.
But you could essentially do your interview during open interview period and apply in round 2, which is in January.
Okay. But is doing the open interview signaling anything to the school, or is it just sort of is it endorsement of my interest in your school, or is it just something that you say if you happen to be in the United States, come by and?
If you happen to be in the United States, if you really, a lot of times we tell people, especially international applicants, if you're wanting to come to visit and do a campus visit, that might be a good time, and that way you can just kind of do both at the same time. We don't view it any differently as if you want to wait. We understand not everyone can come and visit us during those times, so we won't hold that against you.
Okay, great. Okay. In terms of deadline, so we're at the end of July now, and we're gonna have round 1 opening up soon, and then round 2, and then I know Duke has an early action deadline. If you guys could talk about how you perceive deadlines and applicants who apply in different rounds, and whether the round 3 is still considered a favorable round to apply in. So what's sort of the right timeline for a student to apply to your school?
I would say we don't look at round 3 any differently than the 2 prior rounds. I will say that our funds are finite, so we only have so much whenever it comes to merit scholarship, and every applicant that applies, or it's a completed application that's interviewed and so forth, is reviewed automatically for those merit-based awards. So, an individual applying late in round 3 that has a very similar score, we try to reserve funds, but that would probably be, I would say, would be the only negative applying late. But outside of that, it wouldn't really necessarily impact our decision from an admissions perspective.
You're saying there's a certain pool of application money, the scholarship money that you're giving out, and that sort of gets depleted as the rounds.
Yeah, I would say invariably yes, that does happen.
Other than that, you're saying it's fairly even.
No, I do think that there is an element to assume that does apply in round 1. I think that is somebody that I think that has done his or her research extensively, maybe is passionate about the school. So there is that little, I guess, positive to it, but other than that, I mean, because we see people that are equally as passionate and that apply in round 3 that are equally as passionate as those that apply in round 1, but maybe perhaps they just weren't able to get their letter of recommendation together, or maybe they waited a little longer to sort of tweak and massage, or to ensure that their essay was where they wanted it to be. But I do say that rounds 1 and round 2 would probably be best as far as consideration for admission and for merit. Yeah, exactly.
Fuqua is different. We offer an early action round. That is a binding round though. So we always say that's for somebody that knows Fuqua is my top choice. If I'm admitted, I'm going to pull applications from all other schools and I will deposit and attend. That date is September 19th this year. So that's really, we don't look at those like Johns Hopkins any differently, but in theory, all seats are available in early action. We do, and like Johns Hopkins as well, we do have scholarship money that is awarded in all of our rounds, and every applicant, your application serves as your application for a merit-based scholarship. We do always recommend though that applicants, specifically in India, apply by the round 2. That just will give you enough time from getting your decision back to apply for your visa paperwork and get it back in time. So that's why we always say that, but round 2 we give out scholarship money, round 2 we admit people.
Do you have some numbers based on how many people in the class, like percentage-wise, you fill up in the early action and then round 1 and round 2? Do you guys put out any data on that?
It varies every year. We really don't have, we're not like a strict numbers school, we're really looking at the applicants overall.
I mean, really, it's going to kind of vary, I think, from year to year. Us not having any sort of early action or anything, that certainly is a little bit of a different scenario or situation with us. But yeah, I mean, nothing that's going to be dramatic in terms of like impact or anything like that.
Okay, great. Let's talk a little bit about life post-college. So obviously the C word, right? The career options. So what are some of the career options you're seeing from your schools, and how does the Career Center support students in navigating this pretty stressful journey? And so you could share some numbers on the different sectors that your schools see in terms of where people get jobs. That would be very helpful.
Okay. So once a student has been admitted and he or she makes the election to attend a Carey Business School, that summer leading up to when they would actually attend our prior to like orientation and so forth, they receive contact from our career development office. They are assigned a coach. So you have the career coach that individual is assigned that will really be assisting them all the way through the stages of that summer into orientation, and then when classes begin. And then we also have a series of individuals who are more employer relations facing, so their primary charge is going to be working with developing relationships and continuing to foster those pre-existing relationships with employers. So I think between that sort of two-pronged approach, I think students will find that our career development office is very supportive of their efforts from the very beginning stages of when they make the commitment to attend throughout their time at the Carey Business School. We work very diligently, or I should say that office does in particular, to bring individuals in that are industry experts. So then, depending on the particular industry that they're most interested in, those folks that are coming in and that are speaking on campus can offer some insight as to sort of the landscape of that industry, where things are going, We also provide students the opportunity to use Handshake, which is a platform that allows students to kind of identify industries. Those students can basically select various sort of verticals, I suppose, and then any information that the Career Development Office receives, whether it's speakers, events, networking events, and so forth, they would receive that information based off of those industries that they have identified interest in. Students are able to select multiple industries. So if you're interested in something, health related, you may find some opportunities for peer networking at other Johns Hopkins schools. You may find, some opportunities for employment or career affairs and so forth at those other divisions within the university as well. As far as kind of post-graduation, into consulting, and then as well as some kind of technology, because of sort of the humanitarian element that has always been a rich tradition, at Carey, we see some students that also go, nonprofit as well.
So we also have a career management center. They really start working with you from the day you step on campus. Each one of them has a different industry they work specifically with. So if you're looking at going to social impact, we have a manager there who will help you with those careers. We have, last year we had roughly 250 company visits last year to Fuqua for on-campus recruiting. So they're really key in helping you find what you're passionate about, getting you ready, whether it's interview prep, revamping your resume, or anything like that. We would say 89% of international applicants have a job at graduation, or at least a job offer. 85% of those usually accept that job offer right after graduation. Our top careers, and I'm happy to share our career report. We have consulting, technology, general management is also pretty large too. And I would say more than half the class go into consulting or technology. If you look at the pie chart of it, it's very overwhelming, and then you have consumer goods and transportation are a little bit smaller there as well. But really the Career Management Center is even there for you post MBA. If you are ever in a job and you're looking to move up or down, they're happy to help you with networking with some of the alumni, or also any resume review or job interview prep you might need as well. They are there. And then most recently we are allowing that if you did complete your MBA, let's say 5-10 years down the road, you're wanting to maybe learn more about technology or take an additional class, you are able to come back free of charge and take a class. So continuing that education as well.
Oh, okay, terrific. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of today's session, and I think we really walked through the entire student life cycle, starting with the experience on campus to life post the MBA. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us, and we're just going to open it up for an informal Q&A. Thank you.
Contact us at help@reachiv.com for any further queries, and join us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.